NHRA National Event winner.
Let me say it. All right, everybody. So, obviously, the look of the show is much better tonight than normal because it's not me and some other guy. I've got Courtney and Eric over here with me, and they are fresh back from the gym. And I was telling them before we started that 2 years ago today is when I actually started working out. So it's, what did you call it? My fitiversary, Courtney?
Your fitiversary.
My fitiversary.
And we dressed accordingly.
Yes, perfect. Again, quarantine thing. So let's get to that. So since the way I see y'all on the screen here, Courtney, I'm going to ask you first. What has quarantine been for you? What has this whole craziness been for you? What have you been doing?
I've been spending a lot of time at the shop. It was a good time for us here at the Fort Worth shop. The Elite, HP, Kingsridge Media, Type A, all the things we have going on under there. It's been a really good time to kind of get reorganized and be able to put everything on autopilot. I've been working out like a crazy person. I've been hanging out with my dog. That's about it. Drink a little vino.
So you just said something I didn't quite. You said something last night when we were getting ready to do this. So Elite in Fort Worth, what is that? I only know Elite in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we do in Oklahoma. It's the motorhome trucks and trailer sales that Erica does, Erica and Richard and them. And we do race cars, even regular cars now. We've kind of partnered up with Marty Robertson and his collection. He's got quite the collection of selling those. And we do used parts, and we've partnered up with Snyder Motorsports, and he's going to be working out of our facility there and helping us with the part sales side of things. And then my media company that I partnered up with Wes and Richard in, that's housed out of there. So we've got a huge fun factory that we all just get to work at.
Right. So Erica, what have you been up to during all this?
Same thing, actually. We're full bore working at Elite Motorsports here in Oklahoma. Richard informed us that we were not participating in the COVID-19. So we've been at work every day, and probably go down to Fort Worth 1 or 2 days a week just to check on Elite HP and visit my sister. And Wes Buck's been down there, like she said, from Missouri. So it's been kind of all hands on deck. And in addition to all of that, Richard and a couple of his partners are building a marijuana grow facility next door to our shop. It's 36,000 square feet. So we're about 30 days away from opening the doors of that. And so that's kind of exciting and kind of our contingency plan on sponsorship. Hopefully, that'll be able to fund our race program at some point. But of course, still proud to have Melling and Gallagher and People East and all of the important partners that we have on board with us. But it's been business as usual. I mean, honestly, the only difference is this is the longest period of time in 16 straight years I've ever been in one place, and I am ready to go crazy.
Yes. So I'm like prepared tonight. I've got questions besides the ones that everybody sent today. So Elite was absolutely rolling. I mean, running good the first few races as a whole. I mean, everybody ran really, really good. Y'all did great in Orlando with, down there with Jeggy winning that deal I actually came to, which was a lot of fun. Have y'all been able to do any testing since Gainesville? I mean, I know we have not a lot.
Yeah, we test a lot, but we have not done any on-track testing since Orlando. We've done a lot of stuff on the dyno. We've been learning a lot back in the engine shop. So we plan in the next few weeks as the weather's finally turning nice here in Oklahoma to definitely do some on-track testing. Mark Ingersoll, our crew chief, is finally in town. He's been locked up in his house in Illinois, so he's excited to be down here. But like I said, it's really business as usual. It's just, I mean, all of the race car stuff is ready because you can only work on that so much. Like the trucks and the trailers and the race cars are ready, but the R&D is still going full bore in the engine shop. But yeah, no on-track testing yet. But I cannot wait to get back in the car. I know that when we have a week off, I'm sure you feel the same. Like it feels like an eternity since you've been in the car. So I can't even imagine what it's going to feel like once we finally let the clutch out.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, for me, you said it's been 15, 16 years. For me, it's over 20. And I have never been in one spot this long in that amount of time. But all right, I'm going to ask one of my questions before we get on the on the other ones. So my first question, and I'm going to start with you, Courtney. First, and I guess this probably will cover both of you guys, but first memory of going to a racetrack.
Oh gosh, I know that I went before this, but the first one that came to my mind was watching Eddie and Ursi Hill come out of their pit at the Baytown race in Houston. I don't know what year it was, but as soon as you said that, for some reason, that was pre-Pennzoil, that was pre-juniors, that was probably adult underwear. So that was a long time ago. But we went every single year. We went on Wednesdays with my dad, and we went every year. But the Baytown races were really special. I found a picture of her and I trying to get Shelly Anderson's autograph the other day, and I'm like 4 years old. Just
oh yeah. Erica, what's first memory?
I remember going to the track with my dad. He's sportsman race just for fun. And I remember he used to let me write his dial in with shoe polish on his car. And I would like put a red shop rag in my pocket. And I thought like I was super cool and I was his crew chief. So that's kind of my first memory at the racetrack. I remember he would pick me up so I could reach the window to write the number on the car. But yeah, I mean, it's been in our family forever. Courtney and I literally grew up at the racetrack like a lot of the people that we still race with. I mean, we've known these kids or adults now for 30 plus years. So it's been a really fun haul.
So was y'all?
I remember Dad used to pick me up by the britches and put me on the back of your dragster and tell me to hug the wing. And that's how we would ride to the staging lanes, and I'd hug the wing.
Yeah.
So was y'all's dad a bracket racer? Is that kind of where what he did was a bracket racing, or?
Go ahead, E.
Yeah, just like at Houston Raceway Park. Yep. I don't even know what it's called now. Royal Purple Raceway. I'm sure it's changed again, but that's where we grew up watching him. And he had a super gas car. He had a super comp car. Tommy Costales was always a big part of our program with Houston Engine and Balancing. He used to build our motors for us and became a huge family friend and kind of a big brother type guy. But he was amazing, really great guy, and I learned a lot from him. So I'm thankful for that experience. But yeah, I mean, Dad just kind of like the Saturday night bracket program, and he raced at national events like when they were around, like Houston and Dallas. And then once Courtney and I started racing, he kind of hung his stuff up and totally focused on our program. And I mean, we toured all over the country like as kids. So looking back now, like all of the sacrifice that he made, driving all night on Sunday nights so he could get back to work and we could get back to school, and just being able to race in all of these really cool places like Indy and Florida and New Mexico and California and Phoenix. And, as like, you don't even grasp how cool that is. But now looking back, it was like, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So, Courtney, obviously, well, maybe not everybody. I don't know how they don't. If they're watching this, they do. You obviously was a junior racer as well. When did you make the decision like, okay, I'm done with this? And did you race big cars or did you stop at juniors?
I never really made a decision. It kind of all just was fluid, and kind of however Erica's career, because she was first, she had the true passion for it. I like to be like a B+ at everything and then kind of move on to the next and figure out if I can learn how to do that. And she was just so engulfed with racing pretty much since that was it. She played volleyball and basketball and stuff, but I really was committed to sport ball through high school and through the beginning of college and stuff. And so I guess that's where the transition happened. But whenever I came back into it, her professional career was just starting to blossom, and it kind of everything, I know this sounds so cliche, but everything kind of just fell right where it was supposed to. I had no idea this is what I was going to be doing, but I can't imagine it any other way. I'd like to drive at some point. Would I like to do what y'all do for a living? No. I like where I'm at.
And what is she doing?
Yeah, so exactly. So you talked about working at Elite HP, I think is what you called it. And you mentioned your media company and you're working with Westbuck, which is Drag Illustrated. What exactly are you doing? What is your media company and what does your media company do? And don't think I don't know the answer to this stuff, but everybody else
No,
knows.
you're good. Well, I kind of started off when Erica was, we couldn't even barely qualify and barely went around. I had to figure out ways to be out at the racetrack to be there because I loved it. I'd never not been a part of it. We'd never done it solo. So I worked for Sparco for a little while, sold fire suits, ran the Midway, interned with Geiger, worked with Woody, did just random jobs to be out there and then get to see her. And then I kind of, when social media took a dive into the real world before people were investing in it, we decided to kind of create her brand before a brand was a thing. Erica, remember Richard said a brand doesn't exist for a person. Now, now it's everything. So we don't need no brand. So that kind of just happened organically, and I continued to do what I did. I ran a fitness studio and did all that in Houston while she was racing, and I would go to maybe 8 a year and just try and figure it out. And then I went to a race with Elite and literally just started cooking for the team and doing team management stuff and continuing to do her media before it was a thing. And through the years, the sponsors had invested, and I became the Elite media person, would handle all the social media, would be the liaison from NHRA, handling when the drivers needed to be where, and then had a conversation at PRI, and you know how those go. And Westbuck and I decided to make Erica and Elite one of our clients and make her pay. And now we have other clients, and we do the same thing for a bunch of other people and companies out there, and tool videos for jegs and shooting some jewelry. We're going to be handling the marijuana product business. So we're doing it all. It's kind of fun. It's exciting.
So you just mentioned Jeg. So do you work with any other racers besides Erica, or is it just Erica and the Elite team?
I do I have all of the Elite team, all of those monkeys. I've got Alex, Erica, Jeg. We do a little bit of stuff with Aaron Stanfield, but his fiance is really good and likes doing this stuff. So she does his stuff, but I do things for Jegs, the company, as well too. So we cover the driver stuff and help Woody with that, but we do a lot of off-track marketing work for them as well. We do some stuff with Airmotive. Paul Lee, I cover him at the racetrack. We do some stuff with Global and Antron Brown, Denzo, Andy, and Matt Smith. Worked with Coletta occasionally when they have some fun events. So we've I joke and say that I've branched outside of the Erica bubble.
All right, Erica. So again, I did some crack research. I'm proud of myself. 16 years old. You went to the final round. What do you remember about that? First, youngest person ever to reach a national event final at 16 years old. Was that immediately after your junior car, or did you still have it, still doing it at the same time, or what?
So that was in 2000, if I remember correctly.
That is correct.
Or was it 1999? Yeah. So it was actually at the Houston national event. I raced my good buddy Jimmy Lewis in the finals, and he beat me by 0.003 of a second, but he beat me. It might as well have been a mile. And I remember it very vividly, but it was definitely a lot of fun. But I raced junior dragsters from when NHRA started the program till 1999 was my final year in the junior program. And then I started racing Super Comp, and I did a year where I raced both Super Comp and junior dragsters. So it was kind of cool to be able to go from 180 mile an hour dragster back to an 80 mile an hour dragster, which made driving the finish line a little bit easier. So in the junior dragster. So, but yeah, I remember that race very well. And since then I've had the opportunity to race with Jimmy Lewis when him and Buddy Wood were teamed up, and I was driving one of Buddy Wood's cars. Sometimes I drive a Super Gas Ortec Roadster, and other times I drive one of his dragsters. So I've been able to race with Jimmy since then, and it's been a lot of fun.
So you came right back 4 years later, and you won Super Gas at Houston. So, I mean, you didn't waste no time at your home track of just like hitting home runs there.
It's always been good to me for some reason. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that had to be really, really cool. I mean, because you were bound to be surrounded by family, friends, and here you are going rounds at 16 years old. You make the final 4 years later, you win the thing. Is it because
I have the picture of the starting line in my kitchen?
Oh, no kidding.
In that race.
Yeah. Courtney's got some serious vertical leap ability. And she displays that quite often on the starting line. But yeah, it was really cool to go back to be able to win in 2004 in Super Gas. I raced one of my really close friends, and he was my college roommate at Texas A&M, Jonathan Johnson, in the finals. So it was a really exciting final round. A lot of our high school friends were out at the track, and of course our mom and our dad, and Court was there, of course, and it was really fun. And then exactly 10 years later in 2014, we were able to win Houston in ProbStock. So it was kind of cool to come like full circle, like, you know, do really well there in junior dragsters, win a national event there in Super Gas, and then as a professional to be able to do it in my hometown. And that was the first ProbStock win my dad was present for. So that was cool.
Wow, that is cool. So I want to ask, you just brought your dad up. So he obviously gave both of you guys like tons of opportunities. You just talked about being drug all over the country to race junior dragsters and all that. But what was, aside from obviously your dad and mom giving you those opportunities when you were young to do the junior dragster thing and then move into the big cars, but for me, where I'm headed with this, it was a guy named Peter Lehman. Who was it, or what was it that, like, okay, I'm now off and running to do this pro thing? You know, what was it for you, Erica? Who, what, how did that happen?
So it's kind of interesting. When I won the 2004 Houston event in Super Gas, prior to that, I went to Frank Hawley's alcohol funny car school, and our plan was we were working with a nitro funny car team at that point, and that was kind of the direction that I was going to go. I wanted to drive a nitro funny car, so I went to this alcohol funny car school. I got my license. The guy told me, if you can drive an alcohol funny car, you'll be fine. It's the hardest car out there to drive, blah blah blah. So I got my license, and not very long after that, it was maybe a month, we won Houston. And for some reason, when Bob Fry interviewed me, he said, you know, where do you want to go from here? And knowing that I just completed my license and I was working with a funny car team, what came out of my mouth was, I love ProbStock. I hope I can drive ProbStock one day. I love watching the guys shift the cars, and I think it would be really cool. I have no idea why I said that, but it was my favorite class, but I was planning to go nitro funny car racing. So it's kind of weird how it worked out. Well, Stevie Johns and Victor Cagnazzi heard the interview, and Victor called me and asked me to come to North Carolina for a meeting. So my dad and I flew up there, and I had never driven a ProbStock car or a door car or raced a clutch car except for the alcohol funny car. So I was kind of like, man, why is he calling me? I have zero experience. But a few short weeks after that, they decided to hire me, and I went ProbStock racing. So in 2004, I spent the rest of the year learning how to drive with Stevie Johns and Tommy Lee, and Grumpy Jenkins was still part of the program, and Victor Cagnazzi, of course. So it was a pretty interesting learning curve. Crashed a car, learned a lot, but made our pro debut in 2005. So I know that I say long story short, but that was a really long story. But that's kind of how ProbStock came about. It just flew out of my mouth, and I ended up there. So I'm thankful so much to Victor Cagnazzi and his wife Brita for giving me that opportunity. Had they not called me, I would never be where I'm at right now. So I'm super appreciative for them.
That is cool. I don't think I actually knew that. I mean, so just an interview from winning, again, back to Houston. You know, that Houston thing's big for you guys. So Courtney, what would you have thought if the one sitting over there, I guess it's the other way, wherever I'm pointing here. Yeah, that way. That way. Nitro car. What would you have thought if she was in a nitro car? especially a funny car. If that's what she was thinking about.
If that's just where it had taken her, then I'm sure it would have just been normal. I don't know if I would have been into it as much. I'll be honest with you. I think that what always intrigued me about Erica was, and I'm not just fluffing here, was just that her drive to do something different and her drive to be different. And I remember her saying at one point, well, that may be the hardest or whatever, but there's already 3 girls that do it. Not that that's the only separation, but she wanted to make a name for herself somewhere, some way, and be different of that. And that's what's always clung me to her career. It's not, I mean, it is the racing. I grew up with it and have a passion for it, but that's what's been the coolest part of riding the coattail is that part of it. So my whole life would be different. I'm sure everything would be different. Everything would be different.
So, Erica, do you still every now and then think, man, I'd like to hop in one of those things and stomp on that loud pedal, as I say?
I'd love to stomp on that loud pedal. I've thought a lot about it, and my heart and soul is in ProbStock. I love that it's a driver's class. It's factory horsepower. It's just kind of like,
You're
I don't
your
know.
own
It's
clique.
just,
You're like your own world.
You could do 2 classes.
Yeah, but I also would like to, I think it's cool that like what you do, you're at the pinnacle of the sport. You drive the fastest car on the planet, and it's usually shooting flames out of somewhere, or it's definitely more exciting than ProbStock. But given the opportunity, I would do it. It is not something I'm actively seeking or have a clear desire to do at all.
But I'm just saying, like, if the opportunity came up on a Monday, would you like to hop in and like stomp on the loud pedal and give it a go on a Monday? I'm not going to
Depends for somebody.
Yeah, I would do it for sure.
So I'm gonna get into some of the questions that were sent to me, but this one is actually from my sister, who's a pretty dang good bracket racer, and I'm going to just admit this right here on Facebook Live that we did our own little practice tree race the other night with the WhatsApp. Everybody was at home. Smooth kicked my butt, my brother-in-law's butt, Mike Eggleston's butt. She killed us. But anyway, this is from Lee Hubbard. My question for Erica is, what advice or what does she do to keep her emotions in check on race day? And you are a master at that, by the way. You are an absolute. I pay attention to a lot of that stuff. I've been doing this a long time, and I have called you from time to time, once in a blue moon. You are amazing at that. But that's Lee's question, so have at it.
Well, thank you for the compliment. I'm not sure I quite agree with you 100% because, as you know, in the heat of the moment, it is hard to remember that millions of people are watching you, and most importantly, younger, very impressionable children are watching also. So it's a pretty rough world that we live in, and being funny, my dad will apologize from time to time for suscepting us to this environment. But at the same time, it's provided like a really awesome life and a great living and a lot of fun. So I guess my advice is like that 3-second rule. And I didn't follow that a couple of occasions, like Tanner Gray and Greg Anderson and a couple of times. But emotions fly high. There's a lot at stake. We spend a lot of money to do this, and it's our livelihood on top of that. So, you're gone 300 days a year. You sacrifice your relationships with your family and significant others, and everything goes by the wayside for what we do. And to put that on the back burner is hard sometimes. So it's not exactly easy, but I usually just try to take a deep breath because I don't want to regret. I really, really don't want to regret. So, and I already get enough hate mail as it is. I don't need any more fuel to that fire. So I just try to stay calm. And I think it helps me in the driver's seat, honestly. Like in the highest pressure situation, you have to be calm, cool, and collected. And I try to carry that outside of the car as well. We live in a fishbowl. It's not easy, but I try. I give it an effort.
So in the car, what is, do you have a routine, or do you just, let her rip, let her go? Because I knew Lee was really thinking about in the car. I love that answer, and I'm glad to know that. And everybody always like, you're always talking about me. You're always smiling. You're never mad. Oh, yes, I am. Donna's over here shaking her head. Yes, she sees it later, but I'm good at controlling it. Again, that fishbowl thing, and we've seen what's happened with the iRacing and people losing sponsors and losing rides, and we're always being watched.
Yep.
But in the car, you are so amazing. Do you have a routine, or is it last moment, once, like after the burnout or whatever? Kind of what's the routine there?
She might not want to tell that routine.
So,
You hear Donna?
no, I mean, my crew chiefs say it too. Like I'm the master of doing everything the same every single time. And I have to give my dad credit for that, because he's a positive mental attitude coach. It's what he did for a living before he got in the software business and the oil and gas business. So that's how he made his money, was teaching seminars on the importance of positive mental attitude and goal setting. So Courtney and I were fortunate enough to be raised in a house where A, gender played no role, and B, you speak things into existence. So like if we said something silly, and she can attest to it, like, man, I hope I don't trip over that cord, he'd say, dig it up. Like, dig up what you said and speak it positively. So just a silly example, but we grew up in that environment, so that was really helpful. But I do the same thing every time. I put my gear on in the same order. I'm a little different than Courtney. Everybody, people that are watching, and you, Clay, and your wife, see her running around like a daggum pinball everywhere, and she has more energy than I wish I could have, like, this much of her energy. But where she is like high, fast paced, I'm like super calm and laid back. So we're very different in that aspect. But in the car, I try to do the same thing every time. And then also I'm like the queen of deep breaths. Like, a lot of times people ask me, what's wrong with you? Because I always like take a deep breath. Like, one might think I'm aggravated, but that's just like, I don't even know I'm doing it. It's just like my way to calm down. And when you take a deep breath, your heart rate drops by 10 beats per minute, and it just helps everything. So, long answer to your question. I just try to do the same thing every time, in the car, staging the car, shifting the car. So that's kind of my motto.
Well, you're good at it.
Thanks.
So now I'm going to get to some of the questions that were sent in earlier. This is from Ben Meister. I think he's saying his name correctly. Wants to know, and Courtney, this probably is for you. Elite Motorsports, more reality episodes coming, or no?
Well, that was kind of an accident. Not really, maybe of sort. We just were shooting some things that day for something else. And we were going over the footage, like most people in my realm of this business are at this point in time, organizing footage, figuring out ways to be able to access it better. And I'm seeing all this stuff, and we're going through it. And I call my video editor guy, and I'm like, can we make an episode of some sort to this, of one of the projects that never came to fruition years ago? And so we kind of vowed to make it all of the cuts that couldn't make the real videos that we have to actually seem presentable on that will turn into almost like this little blooper episode. So there is plenty of that. So it's just a matter of how many we can get shot out, how many Blake from Kingsridge can get edited up for us. But yes, there are buckets, as I call them, in my hard drive of stuff like that. It's interesting stuff.
Well,
People ask for it.
They do.
We have such a crazy group. Like, our group is, it's not scripted.
Nothing. And I feel so unprofessional when we put it out there, because I'm like, this is really what you're aiming against. You have to have a storyline. You have to have a plot. You have to have a sit down. Like, I'm breaking all of the rules, and you have to have the magic, don't tell him, of Richard Friedman to make that work, because it's good. It's just good. So yes, we'll have more.
Goodness. Yeah, I mean, you just never know what people are going to watch. That's the thing. I mean, like, on this quarantine thing, I've been on a huge watching, and I've actually posted some silly stuff on YouTube, but you can you can go like down this huge crazy rabbit hole watching YouTube, and you'll watch stuff. It's like, why am I watching this? But you can't not. You know,
Can't
it's just
stop.
entertaining.
Yeah,
It's
there's
hard
no
not.
rules right now.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one is from Brian Tilson. Do y'all know who that is? I feel like maybe you do.
Maybe.
No. And the only reason I say that because there's a comment right below it from Janet Lee Kinzer Enders right below this. So y'all might know who that is, right? Yeah.
That's our
That's
mother.
our mom.
Yeah, I thought so. Anyway,
But
Brian
listen,
said,
she talks to everybody.
okay, well, that sounds like what my mama did. It didn't matter. There was no
She's a butterfly.
stranger. Yes, absolutely. So I don't really know if this is a question, but it's from Brian Tilson. Says, since you ladies were some of the first junior dragster racers, what would be your advice for a father and a 10-year-old daughter that would be starting this journey together this weekend in Ardmore, Alabama? So they must be getting to race in Alabama this weekend. So I guess it's this little girl's first race. So either one of you go first.
Go ahead, E.
I will say that the majority of our most fond memories come from racing junior dragsters with our dad and our family, our mom. And if it weren't for our dad, I mean, we would not be here where we are now. And so I'm appreciative of that. And my dad, he jokes and says it, but it's pretty true. Like, what other teenage daughters want to go hang out with their dads on the weekend and go to a racetrack and work on cars? So it provides a really cool family environment, and it allows you to have a close, fun relationship with your parents.
I think I was going to kind of go in that realm of the fact that we were 15 and 16 and ready to leave our friends and go, is creating the fun environment. We had a lot of friends whose environment not have been so fun inside their pit, where they got to go do all this stuff. And yes, it's expensive, and yes, it's important. And like anything, you want to perform and take it seriously, but you're still just kids. It's an expensive hobby, but it's just kids, and that they have to enjoy to want to go with you. And a lot of the people I think that phased out of it were the ones whose parents maybe didn't let them enjoy it as much and learn as much. And it was that. So just piggybacking on that.
All right. So I had this question for a little later, but a little birdie just tweeted in my ear here. So what is it like on a daily basis working with Richard Friedman?
Well, he's on here. I already saw. He told me.
Okay, you saw it too. Donna said, Richard.
I heard him tell me to shut up.
So let's hear it. Let's hear the Richard Friedman. I love the guy. He's a wild man. We have hung out all over the world together.
Me first.
Okay, let her rip.
I don't do it every day. Clay, we should have stayed in Saudi, he says. So I don't do it every day. I have mastered over the last 6 years, I've mastered the Richard Friedman relationship. And it involves Richard and I staying here. We've fired each other 15 times. We drink Camus wine like 2 or 3 times a year. We say all of our honest things, and then we joke from then on out. But it is a ride. There is never a dull moment. Richard is all the things that people say about his mouth and this and that, but he is one of the kindest people. And through this, and I hope he plugs his ears so he says I'm awesome, so that he doesn't hear it. But through all of this stuff that's been happening, the COVID stuff and so many teams and being able to just say, hey, we're not racing, so we're not doing it. He's gone way above and beyond of figuring out different areas of his life and business to place everybody to make sure that we're there. So I can't say all the things I normally want to say about him because he's being nice right now. It's very annoying. Now, right. Erica's is way, way more because she's every day.
I'm going to go get a refill. No, he's probably one of my best friends. I'm really thankful for our relationship because he pretty much, I don't know, saved my career, really. In 2013, we had a pretty awful ending with the previous partnership, and I was, I think, about to be unemployed, and we started meeting in Las Vegas, and his car that Shane Gray was driving and my two crew chiefs were ultimately working on, won the race. And at that event, we talked about putting a deal together for 2014. And I'm like, no, I was racing with Victor, and I'm loyal to a fault. Courtney will tell you that. And I wanted to stay where I was at. And after some events happened in Pomona, it allowed me to pack my gear bag and roll it over to the Elite Motorsports camp. And that's kind of where our relationship started. So I'm thankful for that. And then, of course, we went out our first 2 years racing together and won back-to-back world championships. So it's kind of like just a dream type ride. But
and he's allowed
over the years, he's become
me a space too to be able to have a career and still stick around with her. Whereas I was a visitor in past pits where she drove. So that's huge for us.
Exactly. That's the thing that's most important to him, is it's a family operation. Like, everyone that works on my car, his last name is Freeman. Like, we joke about it and like, oh my God, you need Xanax. But he's amazing. He's a great team leader. He keeps everybody swimming in the same direction, which is not an easy task. But his mom and dad work for him. His brothers work for him. His nephews work for him. So it's pretty much the Freeman party over here. But it is it's an awesome place to be, because Courtney and my dad says he knows that we're taken care of. Like, nobody's going to mess with my sister and I when the Freemans are around. So I think having a girl's father give that is the ultimate compliment. So we have a lot of fun. Obviously, I've been racing here for 7 years. If I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't still be here. So thankful for that opportunity. But he is a lot. Let's not blow his head up.
He's difficult. He's like a big child with a checkbook and authority.
Large human being. But when his feet hit the floor in the morning, he is 900 miles an hour. He does not need any time to build boost. Like, he is like wide open throttle right now. So but that's why he's successful. I mean, he's got 87 billion business ventures and a lot of partners, and but he surrounds himself with great people, and he works really hard, and you can't take that from him. So
blah blah.
But
blah.
he does say the F word.
So Donna just showed me one of my racing heroes. One of the guys that I always loved watching is watching us right now, and that's Ricky Smith. I think that's pretty cool. That's
Ricky Smith.
Ricky.
That's pretty cool. So which is going to make me ask this question. So, and Erica, this is a you question. Pro Mod, what's that all about? How's that? Is it fun? Is it just like because there's not 24 ProbStock races? Courtney slid back in her chair when I asked that. So yeah, I want to hear this, especially since Ricky's wife.
I liked it.
She checked around her shoulder.
I liked it a lot. Well, no, I heard Sharon open the door. I liked it a lot. It's very intimidating. I try to give the best summary, and I'm kind of joking, but I'm really not. But it's a short wheelbase suspended race car with 4,000 manufactured horsepower. Like, it's dangerous, and crap is going to happen. And a lot of the people in that class drive way over their head. So it makes it that much more intimidating, I guess, because you never know what's going on in the lane next to you. Having said that, I feel that it made me a better driver. The ProMod car has a little bit longer wheelbase, a bigger tire, a bigger wing, so it's more stable, but it has almost like 3 times the horsepower as the ProbStock car, and it's automatic, so you're not like doing anything in the cockpit except trying not to hit anything or die. So yeah. So I enjoyed my time in the class. We did not have the success that we had hoped for, but we were a very young program and just trying to learn a new turbo combination, and we'll get better at it. But after my fire in Norwalk that ended our season last year, because of the damage to the car, it kind of changed perspective on a lot of things, not just for myself, but my family, and then for Richard as well. Like, he's the one that kind of pulled the plug on me driving right now, because he said he wouldn't be able to forgive himself if something happened to me. Like, God forbid killed or worse, like burned up and just disfigured for the rest of my life. So
what he said
we're
was,
gonna.
what was cool, what he said was, I'm the one who has to call Greg. And he, down at the ambulance, when he said that in Norwalk, that was like, and I've never seen him get emotional like that. And he said, I just can't do that. But I mean, it could have been any class, but keep going.
Yeah. But I mean, it's fun. It was a really cool learning experience for me. I'm not saying that I'm done with it at all. As soon as he lets me drive again, I'm back in the car. But hopefully my dad's not listening to that.
I'll tell him.
But I didn't try it. So the point of me saying that it was like a longer wheelbase, bigger tire, like it's a little bit more forgiving because ProbStock is no downforce and very much about finesse. So it's a different animal to drive. So at the beginning of racing Pro Mod, I told my guys, like, Clay, the feeling driving by the seat of your pants. Like, you have to trust your instincts and what you're feeling, and you can't just rely on computers and equipment. You got to rely on yourself as well. So the feeling in the seat of my pants from racing ProbStock made me a timid Pro Mod driver at the beginning. So to go from one car to the next, especially at the same event, is challenging because you have to change that feeling and trust your gut and know what you're doing. So that was probably the biggest challenge for me, but I think it made me a better driver in Pro Mod because I got to kind of just tiptoe, right, and get my feet wet and learn how to drive the car and learn how it was going to react to my input instead of just going out there and trying, being balls to the wall and just going for it because they're a dangerous car and they're out of freaking control.
They are wild. Donna's holding her finger up, so that means I got to listen.
Oh, no. We just had multiple people asking about Erica Ender's race gear, where they can get it.
A lot of questions about that.
Tell them Courtney will go back through and look at the comments.
Yes. So Courtney will go look at all these comments. We know Erica's not, but a lot of people are asking where to get Erica Ender's gear, shirts, hats, that sort of thing. Donna said this screen that I have, I don't see none of the comments, so she's over there kind of monitoring, and I know y'all are looking too, but where's the Erica gear spot? I guess that's the question.
It's at Nitrofish. Randy Lynn and all of them at Nitrofish, they handle that stuff for us. So we used to do some extra stuff on our site, and we've got some stuff at the shop that if you catch it at the right time, but we've pretty much transitioned to where Nitrofish handles everything. I know they've got 2 or 3 champ shirts, and we got some new beanies. Ordered a bunch of stuff before Pomona or before Gainesville. So
it's nitrofishracing.com.
Yep. Nitrofishracing.com, and my stuff is there as well.
Yep.
And so while you're talking here, Courtney, this is another question, and it's from Corey Morgan. Besides Erica, who is and besides me, who's your favorite racer? Who's your favorite racer?
Man, this is going to probably sound really cliche, so I have 2 answers. Jeg Coughlin, like I'm a Jeg Coughlin fan. I used to wait outside his pit. I just think the way he drives a race car is beautiful. Otherwise, if I'm just like fangirling out, I really, really, really was a Daryl Gwynn fan, like big Daryl Gwynn.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right.
And now because he loves me, he says I'm a 100 Enders.
Let's hear it, Erica. Who's your favorite?
So my favorites are
right now.
Are legends.
All-time favorite.
All-time favorite. Well, Bob Glidden and Shirley Muldowney are my 2, but I know that they're not active racers right now. So I'm gonna go with Court and choose Jeg Coughlin. We were totally like at the back of his pit all of the time.
All the time.
But he's the ultimate race car driver.
Yes,
and he's good at everything he does. Golfing, bowling. I mean, it doesn't matter. So he's pretty amazing, and like the way his mind works is pretty awesome. And I'm very fortunate to be his teammate because I feel like I want to be a sponge around him. So he's the best ever, I think, and pretty awesome. Top fuel, I gotta go with my war buddy. We spent some hard time in Iraq together.
We haven't even
shot a bunch of stuff.
Oh, my girl Angel too. I forget Angel.
Yeah, me and Donna are fans of Angel. We are. We actually sit down in Orlando. We had the dogs with us and sit down and talk to her. She's a tough little girl, tough little
She's
lady.
raw. Erica can attest too. Like, I was
Yeah.
obsessed with her. I thought her attitude was cool. I thought that she just was rough and I liked it. And I pretended like I wanted to be her for Halloween so I could wear her old fire suit last year just as a little fangirl.
So Erica, we've been on here for 45 minutes and we have not yet. You just said it. I'm sorry, I've got a dog trying to attack me here, y'all.
I got one too. He's just, other side. He's just kicking it. Where is he?
This one is, I'm in her chair actually, and this is her.
There he is.
So Erica and I went to Iraq in 2008, if I remember correctly. There was still war going on then, and it was called an MWR tour, and that is Mankind Welfare Recreation. So we don't need to really go down this road because this show would go for 3 hours. But what is like when you think of that, what's like one of the first things that pops in your mind about our 12 days or whatever it was in Iraq?
It was definitely a long trip. Well, first of all, what pops into my head is I remember when the opportunity presented itself and I was a lot younger and having to ask my dad, and I figured he was going to say no because I wasn't even allowed to go to like downtown Houston by myself. But he was like right away. He was like, absolutely. So I thought that was pretty cool. But our dad was in the military, he fought in Vietnam. So we grew up, in a military family. So it was definitely a unique opportunity. But to be able to go with you and Jeremy Mayfield and Phil Burkhart, like just a really cool experience. And my dad and I were talking earlier today, and I kind of want to ask you this question, Clay. Of all of the really amazing opportunities that drag racing has given us, what is your favorite? Mine is Iraq or flying with the Thunderbirds, but I learned so much on that trip. And then on top of it, it was scary, it was fun, and I thought I had a lot of respect for our military before I went over there, and it just grew substantially after witnessing what they go through and what they do for us. So
100% agree. I mean, all of it, and your dad actually, after the fact, he gave me a big thank you for watching out for you while we were there. And I'm like, are you kidding? We were like hugging each other because a lot of it was scary, and Jeremy Mayfield is a nutcase. I love that guy. I don't care what has been said or what happened or whatever. That guy is number one in my book because he made that trip so much better, I think, for me and you both. I mean, you're a Houston girl. I'm a country boy. I've never seen the stuff that we saw like that. Like, and I know he was, nervous about a lot of the things too, but at the same time, that dude is funny and he's just awesome. I mean,
he's hilarious.
He really is.
I will tell about the guy that snored.
Oh yeah. So you were we had a lady, I put the dog down. We had a lady, her name was Carmen, and she was in charge of our little group. And
I knew it was coming.
And so Carmen and Erica had their own room, and I'm saying this because I didn't see y'all's room, obviously, but when I went, they said, okay, you and Jeremy and Phil Burkhart will be in this room over here. Walk in this room, and we're in one of Saddam's palaces, by the way. This place is huge, and it looks amazing outside, although one end of it was blown up, and it wasn't as nice inside as what it looks on pictures or whatever. But we walk in our room where we're going to stay, and it is cots from one end of this room all the way around. It's cots everywhere. And I'm like, okay. So I quickly grabbed a cot over in the corner kind of by myself. And there was another tour going on at the same time, and it was, I think the guy's name's Dennis Abair. He's the great big guy on the Allstate commercials with the deep voice. He was there with, I can't remember the name of the TV show, but it was the guy from Terminator that was the Liquid Terminator. They were there together, and they stayed in that room. And all I know is the first night that they were there like the day after we got there. I woke up the next morning and Jeremy Mayfield had all of his clothes on and had toilet paper sticking out of his ears. And he had rotated in the bed. His head was at this end, now it's at this end. And I look at him and he's like, that dude freaking snores like a freight train. And if you hear him talk, you can only imagine what he snores like. And luckily I had grabbed that cot far enough away it didn't bother me. But that's my big Dennis Abear story from over there. Those guys, they were on tour like we were, so we didn't really spend a lot of time with them just when you were like kind of getting ready for bed. But I'm gonna tell one more quick one, and I want your thoughts on. And I know you remember, I shouldn't even say this, but Eric and I and this group of ours, we got stuck in a sandstorm at a schoolhouse that had been turned into a base, and we thought we were going to have to stay there for that night. And a soldier, and these soldiers were kids. I mean, like they were young as you were, Erica, maybe even a lot of them, some of them younger. And, they were kids, but they got us, and it's dark, completely dark. They had no lights on. It was a blackout situation at this camp we were at. And they made us all hold hands. So like we held hands with the soldier and we all held hands and we went out. And I can remember hearing nothing but the wind blowing because there had been that sandstorm. And then suddenly there's helicopters. Like we didn't hear them coming, but they made us stand in a little huddle and just hold hands. And there's helicopters. And I know there's no such thing as stealth helicopters, but do you remember that way? Like we're just there kind of chit-chatting and the wind's blowing and then out of nowhere there's helicopters landing to pick us up. And then I'll let you finish what happened on our way back to the palace.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember a lot of it very vividly. But yeah, it was pitch dark out there. And if it's the same base I think you're talking about, like, because we had a couple very unique experiences, but it was like they were planning an assault that night. And so was that the one where we had to go down in the bunker first, like way down somewhere, and we were all just sitting there, and it got to be like 2 a.m. And so then that's when we all held hands and went outside or whatever, and we're waiting for these helicopters. And it was like Clay says, they appeared out of nowhere. Like they just landed right there on the helipad right in front of us. And we all jumped in, and we're wearing like the flak jackets and the helmets, and we've got our backpacks on, and we're like running, right? And we get on the helicopter, and during the day we got to fly with the doors open, but at night they closed them. And we're going back to the palace that we were staying at. Is this the story you're thinking, Clay?
Yes,
Am I telling the right story?
You are.
Okay. So we're about, like, we can kind of see where we're fixing to land. Like, they have these big concrete walls all around the base where we're staying at. And we have to land on the inside of the concrete walls. Well, as we're kind of almost there, all of a sudden we hear this like choo. And then there's this big purple explosion right outside why are you laughing at me? Right outside the door. Well, I'm trying to, sound of a missile. But right outside the helicopter door, there's this big, like, purple, pink, red explosion. And we're like, oh, my God. I remember looking at Clay like, what are we doing? So we, the helicopter, makes this pretty, I guess it's a combat type landing or whatever inside the base, and they run us in and we take cover, whatever. And so we ask later what that was. Well, I guess someone on the ground, because we owned all the airspace over there at the time, someone on the ground shot at our helicopter, and the helicopter detected it and shot one of those heat flares off, and the whatever they shot at us hit that instead of the helicopter. So yeah, we were like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's, again, we could talk about this forever and ever. It was an amazing 100% exactly what you said. Some of the coolest things from racing was the trip to Iraq, and I rode with the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. 2 amazing things. If it wasn't for racing, would have never got to do. And y'all don't know, but I've got a director back here, and this whole time Donna has been typing in everybody that has come on to the show tonight. When their name comes up, she's been putting their name in a random name generator, and we do this every week. I've got T-shirts and gear, and because we have 2 people on tonight, Donna's got all kinds of stuff over here that we're going to send out to one lucky winner. Dang, you even got sunglasses in here.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll
brand
add to it too. I'll send something from the Fort Worth shop. We'll add to your little
Okay.
swag bag.
So there you go. So look, we even got
Blackwater.
Blackwater sunglasses that are going.
There you go, Erica. We were just talking about that.
A do-rag, or what is this, Donna?
It's bandana.
A bandana.
And
An Iggy bandana.
Donna, I need one of those.
Okay,
We'll
you
make
got
that happen. A Milliken shirt. So somebody is, and what else you got? A Team Valvoline shirt. I don't know what else over here. So a bunch of stuff over here.
We'll throw in the 3X shirt. I've got the 3x shirt at the shop.
Perfect. So when we finish, which will be like soon, because
You didn't let them do it right now.
we're going to do it right now. Donna said, let's just do this.
I have typed so many names.
So she said she has typed a lot of names. So
She
what we're
runs
doing,
the show.
y'all, whoever's name pops up here is going to win some cool stuff from me and Erica and Courtney here. Can y'all see that?
There it is.
Robbie Spradlin. Can y'all see that, Erica? Courtney, y'all see that name?
No.
No. There it is. Oh, I can't figure out where my camera's at. That name right there, Robbie Spradlin. I'm not
Okay.
sure if I'm saying it right. So, Robbie, if you're still watching, send me a message with your address, and you're going to win some cool stuff. You already won some cool stuff. How about that? Golly, we've already burned up an hour, and I've only asked like 3 or 4 questions. This has been
I want to
fun.
know who won the fights when they were little.
Oh, Donna's got some little girl questions. Courtney immediately put her hand up. Is that true, Erica? You're. I'm not supposed to say you're older, but you're the older sister, Erica. So did Courtney still win the fights?
Yeah. I'm the older sister, but don't let that fool you. She's like way meaner and way tougher than me. And she also taught me the things I should have known before she knew, but I did not because I'm a dork, but whatever. It's okay.
Okay, so you just
But
said
I will say,
you said dork, and that makes me
What?
think. You don't know that I've been on the phone with Courtney several times to make this happen tonight because you're busy and you're not necessarily the most internet savvy person, and that's what Courtney does. So I want to know, Courtney, nerdiest thing about Erica while she was in school. What was the nerdiest thing she did? Uh-oh, she's pointing.
But she can't beat me up, so it doesn't matter what her pointers do. I'm not afraid of her pointers. While I was doing things like, student council and homecoming queen, so was she though. She was in the math club. So I'm sitting in the back of the bus, and she's doing multiplication tables in row 2.
Okay. All
Look
right,
how
Erica,
mad she is.
your turn. I know you
game
were
on.
thinking.
So
Come
I
on,
didn't do
let's
anything nerdy. I'm super cool.
Come on, dish the dirt, Erica, on Courtney.
I don't know if she did anything nerdy.
I didn't.
She used to wear these circle spectacles that were so lame with her poof bangs. And I'll tell you something, Courtney was psycho about her socks. If the seam on her toes was wrong, like freaking meltdown, we're not going to school, the house is exploding. Yes, but
Okay.
anyway.
Okay.
So
It's
Courtney,
true. I don't like seams.
when and if we ever go racing again, I'm bringing you socks with crooked stitching in them.
I may or may not have.
Don't even match.
No, I may or may not have a mild case of OCD about some things.
We'll
You
go
sit over there, director.
What?
She just mentioned OCD, and that is definitely me.
I'm married
Yes.
to it.
Donna just said she's married to it. So we've been building and I'm totally getting off on a rant. We've been on here an hour. So we're building this.
We're hanging out.
Yeah, we're hanging out, drinking wine. I'm drinking water. So anyway, this little sidewalk thing at Mom and Daddy's house, and it's like not going to be used. It's out of the way, and it's raining today, and we needed to put down like 8 pieces of 1x6. And I am not a construction guy, but I've got my tape measure out, and it's raining, and we're trying to get finished. And yeah, I was told that
You wanted to quit, and I said,
yeah, but I'm talking about measuring the edges. She's like, just nobody will see that. You know, I'm trying to make it square, and nobody's going to see
My
it.
dad, that comes from our dad. Like everything, all of the screws on the light fixtures and things. Like we had inspections after our rooms were clean, and if we failed inspection, we didn't get to go do whatever we were doing. So I inspect myself before I go to work every day. That's made. I'm a crazy person.
Guys, we have had a lot of fun. We could keep going. Y'all got anything else before I mean, we've been on here an hour. I don't want to just keep you. Erica,
You're honestly one of our favorite people in the sport. There's a facade of when you're on the outside of it and you kind of want to be in the middle circle and all these things you think of all these people, and a lot of times it's different, and Erica will attest to this. You are one of the very few in a bundle that we can say has been the exact same since the day we met you, and you make a room better.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
100%.
That's the truth.
100%.
We like your wife better too, though.
And Donna is amazing.
Yeah. I kind of like
She's my
my wife.
bandana bandit, my bandana twin.
One of my favorite. I want to add this. One of my favorite memories was in Bristol when you won on Father's Day, and I stood in the crowd, and I still have a 15-minute video on my phone. I stood out there bawling my eyes out, recording you as you were getting your trophy and speaking to the fans, and it was just, it was so awesome, and we were so proud of you, and it was so cool to watch. So,
We do. We cheer for you guys in our pit. We've got like 3 or 4 of you guys that we say we give a crap about, and we cheer for, and we'll turn it up. Yeah.
Yeah, Bristol was a big day. That was huge, but it is funny. I mean, and we didn't really talk about this either. We kind of mentioned it when we was talking about Richard, but like if I go to the Middle East, Erica goes to the Middle East. Like we're attached that way. We made a trip to Saudi Arabia this year, and I was so glad to hang out with you and Richard and everybody, West Buck, because it was just different. Like it wasn't bad being in Saudi Arabia. Actually, I thought it was pretty nice for the most part. Like the hotel we were in was fantastic, but the show that we were at, it was kind of like a baby PRI show or whatever. It run from 4 in the afternoon to 11 at night. And so every night when we got back, there's no food. And I come into the lobby and the whole elite crew is there, and they've got Raisin Cane chicken. That was the best food I've ever ate in my life. I just like hoarded.
It was good.
Just went and sat down and just started eating. I'm like, I don't know who bought it or whatever, but
Doesn't matter.
It didn't matter. No, we had a blast. And probably stayed there till 2 or 3 in the morning just talking. But I love hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Donna, was there we didn't answer like any questions that were scrolling. Anything good? Oh, she's looking at my list.
I was too busy.
She was typing names. Anyway,
I saw some. I think we covered a bunch that people were the basic kind of stuff about Pro Mod. I saw some stuff about Pro Mod. There was something I saw I don't remember. It was way up there. I was keeping an eye. I think you were good. You did good.
I think we had a lot of stuff.
Chuck asked how many EE fans still have team owner drivers. Remember that, Courtney, when we did the share of stock and Enders Racing?
We had the
shirts. From time to time, Chuck, I see those shirts and lanyards, and it just really, and I've signed some of the stock certificates. I signed them originally. My dad and I signed every single one of them, but I get them at the racetrack from time to time, but it's not very many. So that was kind of a cool question.
That is cool.
A bunch of people are talking about I saw through the whole thing, the drive the bitch back. That's pretty funny that's become such an organic thing that became such a thing.
about what kind of music does Erica listen to get her in the mood to race the car.
All right, last question, I promise, because we're just having fun.
I want to answer this one.
Yes.
I feel half responsible for Erica's mental state through all of her racing, correct? I try and keep your mental state in check. And sometimes you have to go about that in a sweet, confident building way. Sometimes you got to smack her helmet and tell her who she is. You know what I'm saying? Like there's different eyeballs that you read. So the championship, for the first round on Sunday at Pomona last year, I made everybody leave the lounge. It was a really big round with Grace and Greg Anderson. I made everybody leave the lounge, and I'd been making a playlist through the year. We'll send each other like, wouldn't that be a cool championship song, at the banquet when they played the songs. So I'd had an accumulative list of all of them, and I just started ripping through some of them. They were, as dumb as Miranda Lambert, Little Red Wagon, to old school Queen, to like Barnes Courtney, Fire and Ice. We're kind of country girls, so we get some weird stuff, but we have this special little playlist of songs that have through the career, like Girl on Fire and the Kelly Clarkson Invincible one that NHRH chose, that tag back memories. And I made her listen to that on Sunday morning. And am I saying that's the reason we beat Greg first round? Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, and it was fun, and I can't wait to see you guys both at the racetrack, hopefully as sooner than later. And anyway, this was fun. Thank you guys.
Thank y'all.
Thanks for having us. We just love you guys.
Bye. See you guys
Soon, we hope.
soon.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
There we go. We're stop streaming. That was fun. Thank you, Erica. I know you probably had better
Thanks
stuff
for
to
having
do.
us. That was so awesome.
That's
Probably the most enjoyable hour of 40-some days of quarantine. Thank you for inviting us. That was so cool.
That was fun. And I was like, we do this every week. Like you could participate. So about tomorrow or the next day, I'll start asking Donna and my two sisters, like, who should we have on? And Donna was like, immediately, you got to get Erica and Courtney. She's like, you got to get them both to come on. I'm like, well, I know Erica will do it. And I wasn't sure if Courtney would or not, because you're the star, and and she's so full of energy and bounces all the time. I love both of you guys.
Well, thank you. We love you too. And that was really fun. I'm glad you invited us.
Well, thank you. Anyway, I think we're going to go eat some dinner and let the dogs out.
Same here. Y'all have a good night. Thank you again, Clay.
You too. If you need something, yell at me. Bye.
You too. Bye.